Hello BookTube. Today I'm going to be doing the mid-year check-in tag. I'm not entirely sure who created this tag, but I'm using Eric Carl Anderson's video to um, read the questions off of. So I'll leave a link to his channel in the show notes down below. Question number 1. How many books have you read so far this year? So far I have read 124 books, and sadly, I've bailed on 35. So while the 124 number looks like it's been a great year for reading, the 34 is not so much. Most of my readings have been slimmer books or comics. So, and I'll get more into that in a later question. Question number 2. What's your favorite book so far this year? I'm going to break this down like I did in the mid-year freakout tag into genres. So my favorite nonfiction book so far this year is South to Freedom by L.S.L. Baumgartner. It's a history about how Mexico's relationship to slavery post-independence and post the American colonization of Texas, most of whom were Southerners and brought their slaves, and how after Texas became an independent republic, how Mexico largely became more or less an emancipatory state, where African Americans who made it to Mexico were by and large welcomed, even defended when the former slave owners and their agents tried to track down the fugitive former slaves into northern Mexico as well as along the coast. So it's a really fascinating, wonderful history. I really enjoyed it. For fiction, I'm going to go with Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, which I read after I did the mid-year freakout tag. It's a contemporary novel that looks at the lives of 11 women and one non-binary individual, and how they all come together in one way or another for this key theater premiere. The first of the 12 is a playwright who's working on and about to premiere a play that she's hoping will be her major breakthrough. And most of the rest of the cast come to this premiere. And so they're each of these individuals pretty much tell their story. And it is wonderfully done, and I really loved it. And for poetry, my favorite poetry collection so far this year is First Nights by Niall Campbell. It's his American debut. He's written a number of other collections that have been published in the UK. He's a Scottish poet that I'm looking forward to picking up some of his work from Book Depository at some point. So those are the 3 best books I've read so far this year. And I don't know if when I do like my best books of the year at the end of the year, if I'm going to do like a broken up by genre top 5 or what. We'll see how that works. Okay. Moving on to question number 3. What's the most disappointing book you've read this year? So far, the most disappointing book I've read is and still remains A Spider by, I'm blanking on their names again. Katarzyna and I'll leave it in the show notes. I keep blanking on what their names are. is how disappointing that book is. It's part of the Animal series from Reaction Books that features like a study of different animals. Normally, the books include some the history of the study of the animal, the biology of the animal, as well as the animal and human culture, society, relationships with humans, economic impact, or economic exploitation. But Spider is largely literary criticism and Freudian literary criticism, and I loathe Freudian literary criticism or psychoanalytic literary criticism with every fiber of my being. It's just ew. So, by far, the most disappointing book I've read this year, and there have been quite a few contenders. Question number 4. What genre have you read most this year? Manga. Manga are Japanese comics, and I've read fully half of the books I finished this year have been manga. My manga shelf's over here, and I've read about 60 volumes, so almost fully half of what I've finished this year have been manga, and I've been loving it. The manga have largely been what saved this reading year. This reading year has been rather rough. I'd originally intended 2022 to be no fiction. I would read all nonfiction. For the past 2 years, I've been loving rediscovering history and other nonfiction, and just really that's been what's been pleasing me, while fiction, even my beloved science fiction and fantasy, have really struggled to keep my interest and to not raise my ire. But when I decided to do no fiction 2022, it collapsed. And while I'm still enjoying reading nonfiction, and even fiction to a degree has made a bit of a comeback, it's still, 35 bales so far this year. Yeah. So manga has saved, or manga have saved my reading year so far. Question number 5. Name a new favorite author that you've discovered this year. Well, I guess I could say Bernardine Evaristo. I've known about her. She's quite popular on BookTube, but I only just read her not even a month ago and loved Girl, Woman, Other. Also, I would go with Adachi Toka. They're a mangaka team, they're creators of manga, who created Noragami Stray God. I really enjoyed that. And Naoya Matsumoto, who created Kaiju number 8, which is a series I've really enjoyed. So there's quite a few number of new writers that I've really become interested in. Just a few. Question number 6. What's the most surprisingly good book you've read so far this year? Again, Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. That book surprised me. I went into it with some trepidation, and it worked. It completely surprised me, and I completely enjoyed it. Question number 7. What are your most anticipated 2022 releases? Well, sticking with manga, there's a few releases of forthcoming volumes of Eden Zero by Hiro Mishima, Tolapan Hanako-kun, Kaiju number 8, Tokyo Revengers that I'm looking forward to. I really ought to do a separate, like, upcoming new releases that I'm looking forward to video, so I can do it in a bit more um, depth, and also try to figure out a way to show images on my tablet. Could be fun too. Um, Question number 8. What's your next big priority for your reading? So lately I've been working on a number of reading projects. Currently I'm about midway through my American-centric reading project that coincided with the 4th of July. It's been a mixed bag. Another contender for most surprising read comes out of this current reading week, which I didn't want to sort of spoil for weekly reads. And I do think Girl, Woman, Other did actually sort of surpass it in surprisingness. But then there have also been some disappointments in this spate of readings as well, which has kind of thrown things into chaos. And again, I'll talk a bit about it during weekly reads. And then I've also got a back to school reading project I want to do in August that I'm looking forward to, although I might want to change a few things up for that. And then in September, I want to read all of Full Metal Alchemist. I currently have 5 volumes to go before I finish out the series, and I've already ordered them. 4 of them should be coming in tomorrow, and the final volume, which is actually the penultimate volume, should be coming in sometime next week, assuming it doesn't get lost in the mail, which is going to be a bit of a fun rant for my July book haul. Although my errant book people books have arrived, so that's awesome. And then I'm also wanting to participate in Women in Translation Month, as well as a Victober, and hoping a bit more successful Victober than in years past. And then, of course, I'm going to do Nonfiction November, and I think maybe in December I'll do a Bell Redemption reading project, and then figure out how I'm going to select however many books I'm going to give Bell Redemption opportunities to. Anyway, that's pretty much my reading plans for the rest of the year, although I'm going to try to have opportunities to read other things so I don't get too annoyed with my reading projects. Question number 9. What's been your bookish highlight of the year so far? So far, that would be reviewing for Open Letters Review. I've published, or I have had 2 of my reviews published in Open Letters. One that came out, I think, this past Friday. And I'll leave links to the most recent one in the show notes down below. Or I guess I could do both. I'll do both if I remember. So my first one was a review of 1000 Years of Manga by Brigitte Koyama-Richard, and my second one was Persians by Lloyd Llewellyn-Jones. And I'm looking forward to doing more reviews, although when exactly I'll get to new releases, I'm not entirely sure. Question number 10. What's a book you started reading this year and still need to complete? I don't have any yet. And if I did, that would be my most recent book I'm reading, because I basically start a book, read it until I either bail or finish it, and then move on to the next book. And right now I'm about to start a new book because I've pretty much gotten off of a 2-book bailing binge. So, yeah. Question number 11. What's the best classic book you've read so far? Uh, I'm going to go with The Theogony by Hesiod. And I think that'd actually be the only classic I've read so far this year. So it's a poem about the birth of the Greek gods, and it's very fun and very fascinating because of how some of the gods that Hesiod pays attention to that aren't all that common or paid much attention to throughout the rest of Greek mythology. So yeah. And finally, who do I tag for question 12? If you would like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged. I'll be back maybe tomorrow for another tag. I don't know. I'm likely to be watching the Four Children of the Apocalypse. It was actually, anyway. I'll talk a bit more about this on Weekly Reads when I get to like personal goings on and stuff. But I'll try to make another video tomorrow, and if not, then it'll just be a 2-video week, and I'll see you again for Weekly Reads unless I do a video Friday afternoon. But anyway, BookTube, thank you. Have a great afternoon and stay safe.